Hello and welcome back to Maynard's Angling TV. For those of you that are familiar with the channel, you probably remember in the pike tutorial section about 2 years ago I done a video on the bank showing a clip system that I had developed to try and alleviate the problem of the lead coming back on a cast with a deadbait, which was causing problems because one, you would have to pull the deadbait back to the lead and you didn't know whether you were masking it in weed or wherever it might be. And two, you were also shortening your casting distance, sometimes built to 20 or 30 feet, which wasn't ideal. Now the system we developed at the time, it was working okay, it worked really well and it was fine, and there was a few more tweaks after that. I'd done another bit of a Facebook video if you like, but it still wasn't right. Now I'm convinced I have it perfected now at this stage. Now some people have had a few problems with it, with the new system, saying that it didn't separate when it hit the water, but I'm going to explain to you in the rest of the video why and how that happened. So let's have a look at the components, let's have a look at how they're assembled, and let's have a look at why it won't work if you do have a problem with it. Okay, let's have a look at the component parts. In the pack of the D&T Casting Kit, what you get is you get a small oval O-ring, split ring, you get a plastic hook, you get a safety lead clip and a tail rubber for the lead clip. Okay, these two components are originally out of the Fox deadbaiting kit, which never worked, to be honest. To make it work, you had to make loops of nylon through the tail of the fish. Now it was just never going to be practical, hence the reason they discontinued the product. But these two components are vital in this particular rig here. Now let's have a look at how to assemble these and see what we get, right? The final system. Okay, what we have is, I would say this is our main line. The first thing I always do on the main line is, and I'll explain why later, is we put on a stop knot and a stop bead, right? There's a small bead and a knot, and we shove that up the line as far as you want, 5 rod lengths up if you want, just out of the way. It's not going to cause any problems, right? And there's a reason for that, and I'll tell you why in a few minutes. The next thing on then is the tail rubber, point end first. The next thing on is the lead clip, and onto the arm of the lead clip, the first thing on is the little O-ring, the tiny little split ring there. That goes onto this clip first. Okay, then it goes onto a lock swivel. Now here's where the problem is with anybody who says that this system doesn't separate for them. You have to use a wide lock swivel. It has to be wide enough for this hook to go around freely without any restriction whatsoever. It has to be as free as it can on, right? If this is too tight or it locks in any way, shape or form, the system won't work. Normally a size 5 lock swivel will do, you know, quick lock will do the job. On the end of that then, as you can see, goes the hook. Now the system works simple as this. You get a lead, any swivel lead. It doesn't have to have a swivel, you can put it through the eye, you know, a fixed lead, but the swivel just works a bit better. Put your lead, your tail rubber over the lead clip to keep that in place, and there's your running ledger. Okay, now if I cast that as it is with a deadbait, the deadbait's going to go ahead of it and the lead's going to come back in the cast and do exactly what I've been trying to avoid. So the bit of magic with this whole system is the hook comes up and catches onto the small oval split ring. Okay, when you do that, that's what happens. On my left, this side here, this is where the trace will be connected with the deadbait. That'll be hanging down, not a bother. I can cast that and there'll be no problems whatsoever. But as soon as it hits the water and everything goes slack, like so, I have a running ledger. And that's what I'm trying to achieve all the way across the board with this, because you don't want to be dragging your bait back into weed or anything else and masking it, and you don't want to be shortening your cast. Now, other benefits and other advantages to this rig, to this particular system. Most lads who use a float end up, who want to do a little bit of float fishing, maybe they're having something to eat or something, or they just want to go straight from a bottom system to a lead or to a float system. Normally what they'd have to do is to get be able to fish in deep water is completely disassemble this system and put on a sliding float, stop knot, the whole lot. That's already done for you with this rig. Earlier on, as I said, I put a bead on and a stop knot. Now what I do is I set that to the depth I want to fish at with the float. Pull back the tail rubber, pull off the lead, and get any float that has a swivel on the end or a ring on the end, and put that on in place of the lead. Put your tail rubber back on, and you're now running a sliding ledger. A slider, like a slider system, if you like, and you can fish this in any depth of water that you want, and no problems whatsoever. It'll just go up, hit the stop bead, and cock the float. Right, now literally seconds it takes to do that. Okay, now third option you have with this: take the float off, use a heavier lead, maybe a 3 or a 4 ounce lead. I tend to use a 4 ounce just to be sure. So we just, for pig iron's sake, say this is a 4 ounce lead, put it on. If I'm using a buoyant bait like a pollen, or if I've popped up my own baits, with this system I can now search the depth of the lake I'm in by using it like a marker float, by releasing a foot at a time off the rod, off the reel, and until the bait appears on the surface. Add that in feet, add that to the length of the trace, and that's the depth of water I'm in. And what that allows me to do is then reel it back down until I hit bottom. I know I'm 18 inches, we say, off the bottom. I can then say, right, I want to fish 3 feet off that. I release 3 feet, strip 3 feet of line off the reel, and the bait will float up to 3 feet off. That allows me to search the different levels in the water for the prey fish, which in turn I should find the pike. But it just gives you a hell of a lot more scope and allows you to cover a lot more water when you're looking for fish, especially in really deep waters. So there's three different options you can use this system for, and I've been using it now for a long time, and I actually love it. I think it's fantastic. It gets me all the things I wanted in the first place. It's completely sorted. Give it a go, lads, and I'm sure you'll be impressed. I just leave it. All I do now is I take the rubber off, take the lead off, put the rubber back on, and I leave that there connected to my rod all the time. All I have to do then is connect my trace to the end, put my lead on or my float on, whatever I want to do, and I'm ready to fish. Okay, so they're available in store. They're also available on the website. I'll put a link on the video, or below the video I'll put a link to the old video that we've done, the original one, so you get an idea on the bank of how this system, you know, what the whole development, where it came from. So have a look. Hope to see you soon, and tight lines.